Somewhere on a lot right now, a family is walking through a travel trailer that already failed once. It got patched under recall. Now it is being sold today like nothing ever happened. That is not rare in 2026. It is the used travel trailer market in a single image. 5 major manufacturers make up most of that inventory. Their recalls cover everything from missing vents to mismatched axles to wiring that fails right where the trailer meets the truck pulling it. A shopper sees a lower price and calls it luck. An auditor pulls the paperwork first. Up first is the brand practically everyone assumes is a safe bet. Forest River is the largest travel trailer builder in North America. It is backed by Berkshire Hathaway, moving more units every year than almost anyone else. That size is exactly the problem. More trailers rolling off the line does not mean more consistency in how each one gets built. 2 recalls filed within a year of each other prove it. The Vibe left the factory without a refrigerator vent on the outside wall. Without that vent, fumes the fridge normally pushes outside stay trapped in the cabin instead. Carbon monoxide can build up while people sleep just feet from the appliance. The year before, the Sabre had its own problem. The pin box wiring, the part connecting trailer to truck, could rub against metal and short out at highway speed. That is right at the connection point, holding the trailer to the vehicle pulling it. Neither recall affected every Forest River built, and both were free, factory-covered fixes. But 2 unrelated systems failing on 2 different models within roughly a year tells you the assembly line was not checked as carefully as the badge suggests. If you are looking at a used Vibe or Sabre from around 2019 or 2020, that VIN check is not optional. Repairing pin box wiring usually means pulling the whole hitch assembly apart. That is a labor bill that can plausibly run past what the seller knocked off the price to begin with. Next up is Heartland, and this one is worse. It is not 2 problems, it is 3 stacked on the same family of budget trailers. The Mallard, Prowler, Trail Runner, and Wilderness lines went through 3 separate recalls in 2 years. First, the U-bolts holding the spare tire to the bumper could snap. If both broke, the entire spare tire carrier could come off the back of the trailer while you were driving down the highway behind it. Second, on the Mallard, the propane hose was routed close enough to the suspension shackle to rub through over time. That put a propane leak next to metal parts that move every time the trailer hits a bump. Third, and this is hard to believe, some 2021 Mallard units left the factory with the wrong axle, wrong rims, and wrong tire rating entirely. That is a trailer built to carry less weight than it was sold to carry. It means overloading, tire failure, and blowouts long before any owner would expect trouble. Replacing a mismatched axle and tire setup alone can run into real money with labor before anyone looks at the propane lines or spare tire mount. To be fair, these recalls did not touch every Mallard, Prowler, Trail Runner, or Wilderness built in that window, and plenty of owners from those runs have gone years trouble-free. But 3 independent systems, chassis, propane, and running gear, failing on the same lineup within 2 years is not bad luck. That is a factory floor with real gaps in quality control. It is why any Heartland from that window needs its full recall history pulled before money changes hands. Then there is Jayco, and this one stings a little more. Jayco has genuinely earned its reputation for solid construction. Mechanics recommend it to friends and family. The frames are custom built for each specific floor plan instead of one generic frame stretched across the whole lineup. The walls are bonded under real pressure in a climate-controlled building. The roof system is rated well above what most competitors offer at the same price point. None of that stopped the J-Flight SLX Jayco is best-selling entry-level model. It left the factory in 2024 and 2025 without a properly installed furnace exhaust vent. Without that vent, the furnace can push carbon monoxide back into the trailer instead of venting it outside. One documented case involved a carbon monoxide alarm going off while the furnace was simply running inside a trailer that was months old, not years old. About 173 units were affected. That is small compared to some other names on this list, but it proves something worth remembering. Good construction protects you from most problems, not from a single missed step on an assembly line. A missed furnace vent can be lethal, regardless of how well the frame underneath was built. If you are looking at an SLX from either of those two model years, ask the dealer directly whether the vent fix was completed. Get it in writing. If you did not know any of these recalls existed before this video, hit subscribe, because the next two names on this list have more of them. If you only remember one name from this video, make it Keystone. It is Thor's largest towable brand with more than 1 million owners across North America. It has had 4 different types of recalls in 6 years. In 2019, the Montana fifth wheel had defective welds on its axle spindles. That meant the wheel and spindle assembly could physically detach from the trailer while moving. In 2020, the Hideout was built with an axle and tire rating that did not match what the trailer was designed to carry. That is the same overload risk Heartland had on a completely different brand. Around that same period, the Cougar had a solar wiring recall tied to a short circuit risk. In 2023, Keystone recalled more than 5,000 units across its Carbon, Fusion, Impact, and Raptor toy hauler lines. The fuel station controller could catch fire. None of these repairs are cheap once you are paying instead of the factory. Re-welding an axle spindle assembly on a Montana is a frame shop job, and correcting an axle and tire mismatch on a Hideout means new axles, rims, and tires before labor even gets added. A fuel controller defect on a Carbon or Fusion that never got addressed is not a part swap. It is a fuel system repair with real fire risk attached to every day it sits unresolved. Welds, axles, wiring, and fuel systems, 4 departments, 4 failure types across 4 years. Some recalls are expected from a company this size, but failures spread across that many unrelated systems mean the problem is not one bad batch. It is inconsistent oversight department to department. That is what makes buying used Keystone a research project, not a handshake deal. Any one of these failures alone would be a fair warning. 4 across 6 years is a company that has not fixed its process. Last, and the one that should worry you most, is Grand Design. The defect is not worse than the others. What should worry you is how the company responded once it became public. Grand Design launched in 2012 and got purchased by Winnebago. It built its identity as the step-up brand, nicer finishes, higher prices, a reputation for sitting above the entry-level competition. In October 2024, federal safety regulators opened a formal investigation into what is being called frame flex. It is a structural issue affecting nearly 56,000 Momentum and Solitude units built between 2017 and 2023. Owners reported the frame flexing enough that entry and cargo doors popped open while towing at speed. Frame flex is not a quick repair. Depending on how a manufacturer addresses it, that can mean welded reinforcement plates or a full section of frame cut out and replaced. A proper structural fix on a fifth wheel frame is not cheap by owner accounts. That is an expense nobody budgets for on a trailer bought, since it was supposed to be the nicer option. In April 2025, a law firm filed a class action alleging Grand Design, and Winnebago knew about the problem internally and kept marketing the trailers anyway. Winnebago's own CEO had reportedly dismissed the complaints as misinformation just months before that investigation opened. To be fair, this investigation centers on the fifth wheels, not the travel trailer lineup directly. Plenty of Reflection and Solitude owners report years of trouble-free use, but a slow, defensive response to a confirmed structural complaint tells you how this company handles a real problem once it surfaces. That pattern rarely stays contained to a single product line forever. So here's how you shop these 5 brands without getting burned. Ask exactly which line and model year you are looking at first, especially with Grand Design and Keystone, since that single answer changes everything. Walk the entire interior floor, not just the area near the door. Check underneath for propane lines running close to moving suspension parts, especially on any Heartland unit from 2018 through 2021. Check the roof deck and every slide seal, no matter the badge. Confirm the furnace exhaust vent is installed on a 2024 or 2025 Jayco J Flight SLX. Then pull the VIN and check it against NHTSA, is recall and investigation records before you sign anything on all 5 brands. A recall issued but never completed is still an open problem sitting on that trailer. If you are planning light use over a 5-year window, a budget unit from any of these 5 can still work. Just make sure it has been inspected and every recall has actually been completed, not just issued on paper. For 6 to 10 years of ownership, Jayco is core lineup or Grand Design is Reflection and Solitude tier are the more defensible choices. For 10-plus years or heavy seasonal use, do not consider any of these 5 until every recall on that VIN shows as fully completed. None of that takes more than 20 minutes at the dealership, and it is the only 20 minutes standing between you and a repair bill nobody warned you about. The discount sitting on that lot was never the deal. The paperwork is. Drop a comment with which of these 5 you currently own and whether your VIN ever showed up on one of these recalls.